Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be going over one of the hexes. The hexes, there are three of them. The hexes 3. The hexes 3 are Bane, Purge, and Siphon, and we're going to be going over Bane. Bane is pretty powerful. Very powerful, actually. And fully synergized, it has some pretty crazy damage. As you can clearly see, it's got 2,771 to 3,492, and I only have it at level 27. I imagine that Hex Bane could be insanely high damage if you were to build specifically around this ability. The problem with Hex Bane, though, is it's just an ability that gives you a buff. It's not an ability that actually does any damage. So it has to be supported with another ability, which is, of course, going to then apply the damage to the monsters. For instance, in this particular case, we could use Echoing Strike as an example. So let's use Echoing Strike, and let's go find some monsters to mutorize, and we're going to apply the Hex Bane to them. As you can see, attacking the target causes a effect above the monster's head, which is the hex. And once that monster is hexed, I was actually wondering, can they be cursed? Well, the answer to the question was yes, you can curse and hex them at the same time. I noticed that every time I was able to apply a curse to a target, the hex and the curse were essentially on the target at the same time together, which is really cool. Let me go back here and try not to die. I didn't put any points in HP. That would have been nice. Now, give me my loot. No, you bullies. Can't put anything on because I don't have any strength. I don't have any strength. I just dropped it all in the vitality. It matters not. Let's go to some easier monsters real quick so we can show this off in a controlled environment. So if we hit a monster, we apply a hex to them by essentially having the hex active. You can also apply things like the Decrepify to the target at the same time, and it doesn't overwrite each other. You can have the hex and Decrepify active at the same time, which is actually really cool, because I was under the impression that Hex was probably another one of those ones that replaces Decrepify, right? Because you can only have one curse active at any time. Even things like Warcry, Barbarian Warcry stuff counts as curses, and so they end up overwriting each other back and forth. Now, because this works with just about any ability that is a melee or ranged attack, that means that you could potentially use it with a regular ability that just like regular basic attack. You could also potentially utilize it with the Cleave ability, which attacks in a 360 arc around itself, if you level it up high enough. You could also use it with Echoing Strike, which is a ranged ability that works really well. And you can also utilize it with Mirrored Blades, which is a attack that attacks 5 times in quick succession. In general, it seems to work really well with any of the melee or ranged abilities. Now, it does not work with spells as far as I'm aware, and of course we can test this really quickly. Let's go ahead and put 1 point into a spell. Let's grab my Asthma Bolt. Let's go back to Stony Field. Let's go ahead and cast the ability on ourselves, and then we're going to use my Asthma Bolt. And as you can see, we are not applying the hex to the target, so we are not getting the benefit. Which essentially means that the hexes are almost exclusively limited to your regular melee and ranged attacks. Now, Hex Bane specifically has some really nice bonuses besides the damage. It also has the negative 25% enemy attack rating, which can make it harder for them to hit you by decreasing their overall attack rating and making your defense work better. It can also give you net monsters negative 50% to their enemy defense, which essentially makes it much easier for you to hit the target. So while the monster is hexed, you get better attack rating. You get better attack rating for you against them, and they get worse attack rating for them against you, which is really quite powerful. It also gives you a bonus attack rating to your attack as well, making it easier for you to hit targets. So, for instance, if I was using, say, Echoing Strike, and I cast the ability on myself, the attack rating bonus for it, I believe, is only when you're actually fighting a hexed monster, so it doesn't show up on the panel. But once the monster is hexed, you get the attack rating bonus versus that monster, which is actually really nice. It does have a lot of synergies, and you don't necessarily have to build those synergies if you don't want the magic damage in your character. In fact, it's actually really cool because these abilities are kind of like multifaceted in the way that they give you a benefit, the negative 25% enemy attack rating and negative 50% defense. And they also give you the attack rating bonus, but you don't necessarily have to build into the magic damage portion of it or even dump points into it to get really good effectiveness. In fact, even just 1 point in the ability is still going to give you negative 25% enemy attack rating, negative 30%, 7% enemy defense, and a decent amount of attack rating bonus of 83%. In general, Hexbane is one of the first ones that you're going to get access to, and it's going to be very good for any melee or ranged ability that you're going to be able to use. You can also, theoretically, utilize it with Eldritch Blast, which will actually cause it to refresh. So if you curse a monster with the Hex Blast, for instance, and you are able to attack that monster with Hex Blast afterward, you'll notice that the Hex Blast will pulse. And of course, I'm still extremely weak here because I don't have access to most of my equipment. Give my stuff back. Let's grab Echoing Strike. So we're going to curse them, and we're going to use our Eldritch Blast, and you will clearly see the pulse of the hex as it refreshes, because Eldritch Blast has the ability to refresh the effect on the target, keeping it active almost infinitely as long as you have Eldritch Blast also active, which is really nice. In general, like one of these is going to be something that you're going to take no matter what as a melee or range character. I cannot see a single build not taking at least one of these effects. They're too good not to take even as 1 point wonders, and then from there, like you can of course build them if you need to or not. Hex Purge tends to be one that you're going to build into more often than Hex Bane, and there's a reason. So Hex Purge has synergies across the board. Like for instance, Hex Purge is a synergy for Cleave, and Hex Purge is a synergy for Eldritch Blast. And this means that a lot of the times you end up putting points into Hex Purge incidentally, which then ends up giving you different things. Hex Bane isn't really a synergy on most of these skills. And so unfortunately, because Hex Bane isn't a synergy on basically anything, it's not really one that you're going to incidentally build. It's going to be one that you deliberately build, if that makes any sense. I think that's pretty much it for this particular hex. It's a good one. It's definitely worth using early on. It might get replaced in your repertoire with Purge, and I could totally see an entire build just around Hex Bane because of how much damage it does. As always, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you're enjoying the content, and keep watching.